Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on today's live stream. I'm Kevin Schultz, XCOM Marketing Manager here at Firaxis Games, and I'm very, very excited to be able to talk to you all today about our newly announced content drop, the Tactical Legacy Pack. We're going to dive into everything that's included in this DLC. It's a very unique piece of DLC in many ways, and we're going to spend the next hour covering as much of it as we can. But before we do that, there are two key pieces about this awesome new DLC pack that we want to make sure everybody knows. One is that it comes out next Tuesday, October 9th, on the 6-year anniversary of XCOM Enemy Unknown. There is a very good reason for that. And two, if you own XCOM 2 War of the Chosen on PC, you will get the Tactical Legacy Pack for free. If you buy the expansion War of the Chosen on PC at any point between now and December, early December, you will get it for free as well. Starting December 3rd, TLP goes on sale for $7.99, so do not wait on the offer. Get it for the best bang for your buck. If you're waiting to get War of the Chosen, it's a perfect time to grab it now. But it's all very exciting. We're excited. I want to introduce my guests now that I've gotten all that boring stuff out of the way. Joining me today are two people responsible for TLP. It's Brian Theodore, the art director for the project. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is
Thanks.
Brian. This is your first time on the
First
live stream?
time, first stream ever.
Cool. So chat, give him a nice warm welcome. And Garth DeAngelis, the series producer.
Hello,
for
everyone.
The series. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to be here. This is a pretty special day.
I've been sitting in this room with my laptop, just like reading all the comments.
Yeah, me too. And actually, before we get started, can I just apologize to everyone watching? The chat is flooded with pictures of Jake, so I'm sorry to disappoint everyone that Jake's face is not here, but he sometimes has other work to do. I promise he will be back eventually, and it's completely flooded. It's hilarious.
Where's
Yes.
the Garth pictures?
No, you don't want that. You don't want that. They get down.
I take it back.
Yes.
I erase it. Before we get into all the new stuff, what's everything that's part of the DLC, let's kind of talk about the inspiration, where the idea came from. This is so much more than a remaster of things. There's a concept. Let's start there. I'm going to ask you because I know the answer to this question, and a lot of it.
You know
with
the answer?
I know the answer. I work here.
Brian will have the fun part of the answer. I think from a high level, after the team got finished War of the Chosen, we had a really cool opportunity to continue working on XCOM. And as a team, we sort of looked down at what we had done in the past, and we said, we want to do something that can celebrate this franchise. It's a pretty special franchise to us. You think about the video game industry, which is very volatile, and there's sometimes a lot of change, but we have a great core team with a lot of devs that have been here for a while. We look at this franchise as something that we treasure, and we wanted to celebrate that and then also give back to the community, because it means so much to us that you guys have been supporting us through this since Enemy Unknown, Enemy Within, all of the DLCs through X2. So we said, what can we do to celebrate that? That was sort of the question posed to Brian Theodore and Brian Hess, who helped head up some of the design of this. We wanted to pair that with something nostalgic and also to make sure that we had some new gameplay with XCOM as well, but make it a little bit more bite-sized and short form. I don't know if you want to talk some of the art inspiration too when we talked about that.
I mean, first off, thank you for the opportunity. It was an amazing ride, but it was really, when it was first approached to me, it was XCOM is such a massive franchise. It has so much history. We've done it so well for so long, and you guys are so well vetted in it. It was an honor to even be considered, and then I knew that behind me was a team of very senior guys that knew exactly what they were doing, exactly what they were making. Just being able to get into that and being able to just to kind of delve into it and explore some stuff with TLP was just amazing. Go ahead.
It was really cool too. I just have to say for a second, because you haven't been on one of these streams yet, have you?
No.
And you have been with us since Enemy Unknown.
Yep.
Yeah, so Brian is one of our legacy devs. Last week we had a legacy dev stream with Piero and J-Rod and Chris Salzbeck, and there are dozens of folks like those that are really these rock stars that are the lifeblood of the franchise.
Absolutely.
And you're one of them too. You're sort of Greg Furch's Rock, right? You're the yin to his yang. He's kind of crazy town, like, but you're more like the solid.
I don't want to say crazy town.
Well, no, I talked to him about it. He's good. He likes this description. He actually said the yin to his yang.
Yeah.
And you have been such an unsung hero and a force on the project as well too. It's really cool that you were able to then work with these guys and say, what do you want to do artistically with the open?
Yeah, I mean, along the way, like, Greg started it, right? Greg, EU, Dave Black with EW, Chris Solzback with War of the Chosen, all those guys really paved the way. And all the other developers paved the way for us to come in and really just kind of take a victory lap, right?
Yeah.
Like to really go in and just be able to massage everything. Everything is defined, everything, it gave us a very wide, this is going to sound crazy, a very wide but very precise gate to go into. And everyone just knew what to do. And it was nice to be able to go in and just give a direction and have guys just execute.
Yeah.
And you come back and you're like, that's perfect. Like, how did you do that?
That was one of the things we wanted to do with this pack, which was make it content driven as well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have some really awesome new gameplay that we can't wait to show you guys, but there's a ton of new content that you guys jam-packed into this.
Yeah, we did. We revisited a lot of all the EU weapons, armors, some nostalgic maps. It was funny when we first started to talk about environments. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead too much.
Yeah.
We started to talk about environments. I remember just scouring Reddit and all the different sites, like, what's a very nostalgic EU map? And everybody's list was completely different. But they were all legit lists.
Yeah.
Everything was like really, really solid. And I was like, I don't think we can go wrong with revisiting any of these maps. And then the same thing with weapons and armors. And we just went through and just kind of did our take on them and did kind of moved some things around and made them really unique and interesting. I think we did.
You did. I mean, that's the great thing. And Kevin, we should deep dive on each of these, but you guys hit a ton of new maps, EU and EW inspired. You mentioned the armors, you mentioned the weapons.
Right.
There's new customization options. There's new attitudes.
Animations, right? Yep.
I hope we can look at some of the new Photobooth stuff that you guys
the
spearheaded.
Photobooth stuff, yeah.
I mean, I think sectoids are getting choked out now in Photobooth mode. There's like all this new awesome stuff that you guys figured out. How can we take what was in the base of X2, use a little bit of nostalgia, use a little bit of new creativity for stuff that we hadn't seen in X2? And oh man, the new music, which I cannot wait to get to.
It's phenomenal.
Yep.
Yes.
I could not stop listening to this soundtrack. You guys are absolutely going to love it. I wish I could give a descriptor for it, but I'm not quite sure what I can say. It's amazing though. It's 80 synth. It's 80 synth. It's an homage to UFO defense.
There are some tracks that are reimagined versions of UFO defense tracks.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And then on top of a bunch more that are inspired by the sound.
Our lead audio designer, Chris D'Ambrosio, and composer, Adam Schneider, did a fantastic job of bringing that together. I am not exaggerating at all when I said I couldn't stop listening to it in my car. My 6-year-old son wanted me to put it on when I would be driving him in the car. It's such a cool track. And the coolest part about it is, obviously, all the new content that's in there, the new gameplay modes we're going to talk about. But the music was like, that was one of the things that was like, I have to double click that icon and get back into XCOM and start a new campaign because it changes everything. It adds a whole new wrapper to the feel and the atmosphere of the game. And that's worth going back in. That's the price of admission itself right there, which, by the way, there's no price of admission until December 3rd because we're so appreciative of you guys. So that's the other exciting part of this.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Do we want to jump into some of these things that Theo brought along?
Yes.
So we, as you know, or maybe you don't know, TLP includes a bunch of the weapons and armors from Enemy Unknown, Enemy Within, reimagined for XCOM 2. Before we kind of start playing the game, we wanted to kind of put them side by side to show off, highlight what you guys did exactly. I think we're even though we are saying remastered, we are now specifically trying to say reimagined because saying remastered doesn't quite get the full concept of what you guys did.
Yeah, we wanted to take, because TLP sits in between, the end of EU and then before the beginning of X2, and it's XCOM lost the war, right? Like you've been overrun by aliens. You're scrapping together what you can to survive. So one of the things that we wanted to do with the armors and the weapons, and even some of the animations, was to really get a gritty feel to everything. You'll notice on a lot of the armors, there's tears, there's duct tape. Same thing with the weapons. There's zip ties and different really nasty weld lines and stuff like that in there. The armors are really torn up, and it's kind of grim. And I'm sorry, but I imagine these guys are like in a warehouse somewhere in a cave, just trying to make it through, and they're just they're taking armor maybe from fallen soldiers, or they're maybe just trying to take their own armor and just repair it, like kind of on the fly, maybe even in the middle of battle or something like that. So you'll see a lot of like little messages on the weapons, little writings maybe that the soldiers have put on.
And it's worth reiterating, which I know you mentioned, Theo. One of the creative premises was we found a compelling window after the downfall of Enemy Unknown and before the start of X2, which I know you mentioned, but to me that's one of the most exciting things about this, and it really funneled so much of the cool stuff you guys came up with. What happened between that window? After the players lost an Enemy Unknown, how did Central get back on his feet?
Right.
How did XCOM even get reorganized? How did they get intel on the whereabouts of the commander?
Right.
What was Lily Shen doing? We're going to talk about that in a little bit with Legacy Ops, but that helped drive a lot of this content that Theo's talking about.
Yeah, so this is, obviously Central in an assault role here with his cool sword and shotgun. But you can like notice on his knee pad the duct tape and stuff like that, just kind of, as you get into the game, you'll be able to see more details. And then we have, the carapace armor, right? This is the carapace and the skeleton. We kind of took those notes. And I need to say this, but Pierre McGowan went through these armors and just had the huge task of trying to like kind of mash these together. And, these aren't just like up-res textures or up-res models. This is all new stuff that these guys have, that the character artists did, but Pierre started this out and did a phenomenal job with all of this. But like the laser weapons, right? We'll talk about the weapons here in a second. But our whole thing was taking what we have, taking these soldiers what they have, and just kind of ramping it up. So we haven't gotten to, I think in X2, I think it's the plated armor that you get in level 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the skeleton, I guess, is a level 2 armor. So what we've done is we decided, well, you know what? Maybe they're like taking battery packs and shoving them on weapons and shoving them onto armors to try to get a little bit more protection from the aliens that are, just have wiped them out and continue to wipe them out.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice like, little wires and lights and stuff stuff hanging down from them. And then the same thing you can see on some of the weapons, like, the cables coming out. Mike Unkrich and David Pakanowski did a phenomenal job on the weapons. The whole character team, all those guys, Stephanie Gitlin, Chris Solzback, David Jones, and we have the helmets too. The helmets are another thing that we have that Nate Broach did a phenomenal job on, just reimagining old helmets and just up.
And this is this is powered armor, basis, right?
Well, this is we have the Titan and the Archangel right on the left,
Yep.
and on the right is the TLP armor. So it's the level 3 armor. You're not quite too powered yet, so you're getting there. So maybe things aren't quite as polished and as beautiful as what they would be in X2, but it's on purpose, right? They're trying to make it. They don't have the production facilities to make these things.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun question, and we wanted the gameplay mode of Legacy Ops to, we took some liberties with that. Yeah. But you're right, it's a fun question of, okay, what if Valen's operations got stopped mid-form, but they had some pieces of it, or there was some prototypes out there.
Yeah.
And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit with Legacy Ops, but it really is this nice basis that you guys built from.
Yeah. Ooh, environments.
Can I just answer one random question before you get in?
Yeah.
Somebody asked if the Roland voice pack is going to be.
Nobody asked that.
I swear to God, I don't know who this person is.
so
Maybe it's
excited
Roland
about this
secretly in chat. But yes, Roland Rizzo, who used to be our original audio designer on Enemy Unknown, there may be a secret voice pack that we've talked about at other talks included in this pack. So you may be able to see that yourself.
So environment. So this is an old shot from EU, from the cemetery. And just like we talked about before, when we tackled the whole environment question, we were thinking, what would be good environments to redo, to reimagine, right? And every list that we got to was different, and they were all legitimate, really awesome environments. And so we really couldn't go wrong. I remember walking into Toby Franklin, who was our environment guy, and Lee Arnest and Brian Hess, walked into their room, and Toby had up the gas station, which I'll show here in a minute. And I honestly thought that he had EU up. I thought he had the game up, and I was like, oh, you got the game up, you're playing it. And he's like, no, I'm working. I mean, it was that like noticeable from far away, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And
That was EU.
yeah, that's EU.
Yep.
This is TOP. So
Yep.
you know, threw some assets in there, remove some stuff around. I mean, I'm oversimplifying what these guys did. These guys are all phenomenal, but it's the cemetery, right? Like it's a really solid
Well, they
representation.
rebuilt so many of these assets too to make them work with the new renderer and lighting and all that stuff. They
Right,
look
right.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
they look
yeah,
gorgeous.
they did a phenomenal job.
I can't remember if we've already said it, but the new things that they've created for these maps do get cycled in to the campaign, War of the Chosen's campaign's procedural map generation.
They do.
Yeah, because X2, the Parcel PCP system, you know, it's generated on the fly. Like the missions are as you go. They're just on the fly. I guess that's what on the fly means.
you go.
And so the guys on TLP, you know, built that system, helped to build that system, made TLP the same way. Like these parcels and PCPs that you see in here can fit into the campaign, and you'll see those sprinkled throughout. So that's a really cool feature. So this is the gas station from EU, which is very recognizable to me at least. And then we have the TLP version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just so iconic to me. You know, I mean, I've died there a billion times.
And you guys did such cool narrative touches too. Like if you can, I don't know if our picture-in-picture is blocking the upper right corner of the roof right now of the diner, but if you remember in EU, there's a big hole there from
Yeah.
the fog pod.
If you go back to the last picture, you
that
can see
went
it
through,
pretty
yeah.
well.
Yeah, yeah.
See that giant hole, and that's during the invasion,
Right.
the original invasion. But because this takes place at some TBD date within a few decades following the events of EU, changes have happened,
Yeah.
and it's been patched up in places. And
Yeah.
so you guys have you've made narrative choices like
Yeah,
that for environmental storytelling.
Yeah, little things here and there that you can see, like After Effects. You know, it's just really just like little narrative touches that if you've played before, you can see, and if you haven't played, there's just more. Maybe maybe they had some damage to the roof or whatever.
Yeah.
And then good old train
Here
yards.
comes a good one.
Yeah, the train yards. Again, I die on all of these maps very regularly. So, but this is the TLP version. Just really cool. Just ambient. Just everything about this is just spooky and just very unpleasant in a cool way.
Absolutely.
And so the weapons, like we talked about with the armors, again, you can see a lot of the duct tape and stuff like that, and the writing that the soldiers have on on the side of these weapons. The top one obviously is EU, and the bottom one, because we needed TLP to live in the X2 universe, right? And so things have changed obviously in 6 years. But there's lots of little details like the pen and the pencil on the top of the gun or whatever. I
That
don't
is
know.
amazing.
David Pakinowski and again Mike Unkrich, those guys.
Is that for taking notes?
You never know.
I love the touches
You
though.
don't
I didn't even
question it.
notice
I
that
don't think I've
one.
never-
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
they
that
did.
is so cool.
Yeah, it's super nice. And then as you get into the laser weapons,
Look at that difference between
I
the
know.
EU ones.
I know it's huge.
We should make fun of Greg right now, Greg Ferg.
Well, we can make fun of me because I did the top
What?
weapon.
You did?
It
No,
wasn't
they
Greg.
look
that was
amazing.
me.
They look amazing. No,
Yeah,
I would never make fun of
No,
Greg. It's
Unkrich did a
fantastic.
phenomenal job. Like the battery pack on the back of the gun,
Yeah.
with the little circuit board. Maybe they're trying to bypass the current weapon's power and they're trying to juice it up, to kill aliens faster, better, or whatever. Just little touches like that. And then there's the plasma weapon. So again, another Mike Unkrich beauty here.
I do love the little like etchings that you guys have put on the guns. I love it so much. I put my favorite one on a T-shirt.
QA tested, Shin
That
approved.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Mike Unkrich actually came to me. He wanted the narrative tracker for the EU sniper lines because he wanted to transcribe. He wanted to etch some of them in the weapon himself. So what the sniper would say in Enemy Unknown,
sweet.
he wanted to put on the sniper rifle. So he was. I mean, these guys were thinking really detail oriented.
That's just another testament to these guys. I remember going to just every discipline at one time or another and saying, what do you think we can do for this? And I would give them like an artistic like kind of roadmap and say, this is what we're thinking. And I would come back like even in the same day, and they'd be like, "All right, let's try this." And I'm like, "Oh, that's like perfect. Like that's phenomenal, guys." And they would just come up with really cool stuff. So yeah, it was
Cool.
pretty amazing process.
Awesome. Sorry, I am
okay.
typing the chat. I'm listening to
It's
you.
okay. It's all right. It's all right.
Cool. So that's sort of a close look at some of these assets, we can dive into the game now and show off a bunch of these game modes and all these things that we've been talking about. So let's do that right now.
So we can see some of the animations, some of the photo booth stuff, which will be...
Yeah. So we're going to go through the different gameplay options. We're going to go into the Legacy Hub and show everybody how it's all organized. We're going to... my things are falling apart. We're going to play a couple missions from the Blast from the Past operation.
Oh, that's a good one. There's a ton of content in this package too, which you'll see when Kevin starts going through the shotgun approach to all of the different modes. It's amazing what you guys were able to pack in there and sort of just spread.
Yeah, I love the ability to be able to get into a game quickly and easily, get a little taste of it and get back out. You know, like for me, one of the hard things about X2 was like the base management. Right, it wasn't a bad thing. Just for me, I wasn't proficient and really good at it, and even in EU, I just wasn't super solid at it, and I just at times wanted to just get into the action. And I think this offers that. You know, there's times where I just want to get in, I want to play, and I want to get out. You know, have that fun.
You know, it's a sort of a fun discovery we had. And Kevin, before you give an overview, can you click on Legacy Hub real quick, just so I can piggyback what
Can we cut to the game? Cool.
Piggyback what Theo was saying. So, in the Legacy operations, that's probably the marquee new mode that we're excited for you guys to play with for free in a few days.
Underline.
There is a ton of content there. There are hours and hours of content, potentially near 10 hours, because there's 4 different storylines that can be told to the player. And there's a daisy chain set of 7 missions within each of them, and they each have their own unique story. The one that we're going to be going through central is sort of kicking back and telling old war stories as you play through this nostalgic trip through Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within maps. And he's talking about, again, getting back on his feet and getting motivated again to bring XCOM back together. What Theo was talking about gameplay-wise that's really cool, this is sort of like a shorthand version of actual XCOM, because there is not a strategy layer. You're still progressing, you're still getting new abilities, you're still leveling up your armors and weapons, but you get to make really quick binary choices in between some of these missions where you're saying, do I want this grenade set or do I want this item set? Do I want the weapon upgrade or do I want the armor upgrade? It's almost like a really cool rush style mode. And it's super fun to play. We found that even some of our devs who don't play the strategy side as much, they really had the talons dug into them with this, because like you were saying, they're like, wow, I didn't even know this stuff happened late game, and
I never made it.
I'm not overwhelmed by some of these strategy decisions. So this is not only a love letter to you guys watching right now for the hardcore fans, but I'd really encourage you, any friends that have been intimidated by XCOM, this is a great way to sort of learn the systems and get into it as well. So go spread the word. This is some free content for your friends that haven't tried it yet as well. That's my pitch, Kevin. You can continue.
It's very hostile. No. Before we get into playing one of the legacy ops, I wanted to hit the other things. Since that's the coolest thing, let's do that last.
Yes.
make them really wait for it. So when you get the Tactical Legacy Pack, you'll have this new button on your main menu, the Legacy Hub, and that's where that's where the new game modes are, at least. We have our offline challenge mode, where you can see the entire list of the challenges we put out, the daily challenges for War of the Chosen. Yeah, there's an entire campaign's worth of tactical matches in here. And
so for anyone that tried our challenge mode, or if you didn't try it, you can only play these one time when they went live through the online system. Now you can play them to your heart's content as much as you want. So those are now fully accessible.
Especially if you're not a phenomenal player like me, you play it once and you get run, and you're like, well, I guess that's it until the next time. But now you don't have that problem. Yes. I did, man. I did.
And since they are offline, you can go crazy with mods and do it up in challenge mode. Here's our skirmish mode, where you can create your own XCOM mission. You got a bunch of different parameters. We can edit our squad and every bit about our squad. So let's look at Jake Evans. We can give them every single ability on their tree if we want to.
Look at that. That's awesome.
And this has existed in some form, like for the whole tenure of the franchise.
Yeah.
This, I know the lead producer on this project, Clint McCall, was a huge advocate for this, as well as Brian Hess and some of the other devs, where they were like, look, we have this great development tool that the designers would use to set up any combat situation they wanted. Let's spruce it up so the community can use this as well. They can set whatever objectives they want, just like Kevin said. Any ability on any soldier, you can customize the soldiers to your heart's content, pick the map, pick the enemies. It's really now you can do whatever you want on the combat side.
So our objectives is that. Okay, so I won't actually play a mission, but that's how you do that. That's our skirmish mode. It's very exciting. I do want to leave skirmish mode. Okay, now we can get into legacy operations. Yeah, I guess let's just jump right into it. We've kind of given it the...
Yeah, I guess before you, you can jump in, but I hope you guys notice, there is a progression system, there's a scoring system with Legacy Ops. Legacy Ops has two sort of sub-modes underneath them. There's Central's Archives, which Kevin was just highlighting there. We gave you guys the overview on those. Those are the narrative milestones that happened in between the events of Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2. And they're super cool. Our writing team, Scott Whitbecker, Chad Rocco, came up with fantastic ideas, working with the design crew to say, hey, what would be interesting happening in between? Again, how does Central get back on his feet? There's some familiar faces in some of these that we're not going to spoil everything that you guys will get to as you play through yourself. Outside of Central's Archives, there's the Resistance Archives. And Central's Archives are all bespoke, handcrafted maps because they're tied to a story. In typical XCOM fashion, we wanted to make sure you guys could create your own stories and play forever. And that's what Resistance Archives allows. That will allow you to basically create your own mission chain. You select a squad type, and then that mission chain will change every single time you play. And then you try to beat your own score and go from there. The other cool, you can load it up if you want, okay, Kevin, but the other cool thing about Legacy Ops is that a lot of this content gets unlocked and then will get pushed to the single player game. So the items and armors and weapons that Theo was talking about, you'll be able to play with in single player after you do a good job on some of these Legacy Ops.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of these loading screens set in the narrative stage?
This is another Piero McGowan phenomenally executed thing. I remember going to Piero and like, hey man, they need, we're gonna need loading screens. And he's like, oh, what do we do? I'm like, I don't know, what do we do? So we started talking about it and reading the script that Scott had provided.
So I restarted from where we left it off. I'm gonna abandon it so we can start from the beginning, get all the narrative and stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Very good.
And so I remember Piero reading it over, and we kind of just started kind of spitballing, coming up with stuff. And I, again, went away, came back, and he's like, what do you think about this? And I was like, wow, and we just started adding little things. Like you'll notice the faceless looking thing, because in our TLP timeline, you really haven't gotten to a faceless yet, And so we kind of created that narrative in our head that maybe Central's sitting down telling like a new recruit, like, man, it was crazy, this was going on. These people were going from these people to like these mush monsters, which ended up being a faceless, right? And so he's like sketching it out on a napkin, and I can just imagine a rookie just losing it, going, oh my Lord, It's
kind of like their first encounters with these things before XCOM's reformed. They have no clue what they are or that they even exist until you see them on these stories. And so Central or whoever has these little scribblings, it's awesome. These little touches are awesome that they added. Yeah. And each series of missions, each story has sort of their own feel and vibe with the loading screens too. They're not all just 2D maps. So again, we don't need to spoil everything, but I don't know if there's any other ones that you're excited about.
Yeah, I mean, all of them I love. I mean, I just remember Piero, calling me up like, come over and check this out. And we'd have like small changes, and it would just be just spot on what he would do.
Yeah.
But like one of them, I think it's Avenger Assemble. There's like a tracking, because we were thinking like a VCR, because it's a lot of nostalgia, right? And so you'll notice in some of the screens there's a little bit of like almost like chromatic aberration. It's not that, but it's kind of similar to that.
Yep.
And just kind of jumps a little, like the tracking is off,
which
is a really cool touch he put in there.
Chromatic aberration, the new buzzword.
The new buzzword. I need a shirt with that. Get on that.
You got it.
Oh, there they are.
There he is.
There.
But this is so cool coming back to these places. I think I ran in your office a few times, and Hess when I played, and Toby when I played these the first time. I'm like, it's amazing the nostalgia you feel that you're bringing back, but there's the new XCOM 2 gameplay on there, and it all just blends so nicely together.
Yeah.
It truly feels like you're getting taken back in time,
Yeah.
but still have all the new
Yeah.
gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah, all the narrative moments that we put in. Some are subtle, some not so subtle.
Yeah, I love, Central will sort of give you his, not play-by-play, he's not talking that frequently, but he gives some nice color commentary to, again, the premise is that he's sort of telling you the story and thinking back on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's pretty neat just getting that color commentary
absolutely.
from the main character.
Well, shucks.
Come on, Kevin, you can do it.
So again, you start out with, the baseline armor types, the Kevlars, the bootstrapped guns,
Right.
and we're not going to have time to play through the whole mission, but you'll see after this one that your squad does upgrade. Some other gameplay thing. I should probably answer some questions, but some other gameplay things. Who is that? 98% chance to hit. There's a new face going through there now.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to answer some questions in a minute for you guys, but just some other gameplay background. As you can see, you're still trying to get a solid score. Kevin's doing a terrible job right now with the minus 1,000. Well done, Kevin. That's XCOM.
Keep going, Kevin. You got it.
We didn't want to make
Thanks for
this
being on the stream, you guys. It was great fun. We're gonna have to cut the stream right now. And
the team didn't want to make this so punitive that that there was permadeath and you wouldn't be able to recover through the subsequent chain. So you get penalized now through score. And the type of medal that you get at the end. If you lose a soldier on a mission, they're gone for the mission, but they will get replaced by a new, fresh-faced recruit on the next mission.
Same abilities, same class.
Yep. Same abilities. Their name changes, but that allows you to continue to progress through the ladder. There are different difficulty modes with this as well too. Kevin, I think you're playing story mode,
yes.
which is fine. That's, if you want to enjoy what...
I don't feel like it's fun.
If you want to enjoy what is being told to you, but definitely don't lose this because then we're going to have to taunt you for it. But there is also a nightmare mode that Brian Hess and our design group tweaked to give you the classic XCOM challenge, if that's what you're looking for. It is very difficult, very challenging, but enjoyable for our more dedicated fans.
There you go.
Let's see what questions we have.
Yes. That's awesome. You also notice there is a dropship in the level, too.
Oh, yes, there is, which is a great nostalgic touch.
It's a little nod to the EU maps.
Yeah.
It's back there.
Yeah. Central somehow salvaged it, but there's
hey.
It's a wonderful asset. We should take
yes.
Yes.
Where was that?
There it is. There's the tail right there.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that.
Cool. I don't think that's so ingrained in my mind from Enemy Unknown. I would never put that together.
Really?
Through these, That's awesome.
Oh,
that's a great touch.
And that's very, in X2, that obviously never happened because you're getting dropped onto a map. So it's neat to have that touch back there. Big Sky, baby, people are saying.
Sky, yeah.
A lot of questions about Van Dorn. Well, you'll have to wait and see.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, people... I've forgotten until today that you can have Van Dorn in XCOM too. He's a special super soldier guy.
That's actually a good point. You put his name in and you get the Easter egg.
I totally forgot we did that.
What other questions do we have? All right. How will the new weapons and armor tie into the main campaign? So you get to unlock those by going through the different Legacy Op campaign. So by playing through Central Archives, you'll then eventually unlock the weapon tiers, the armor tiers. There's some other cosmetic-based unlocks as well too for your soldiers, attitudes, some new helmets, I believe, and hats. So you'll be able to not only enjoy these through this funnel of Central's Archives, but you'll also then be able to take this into a new campaign, which injects it with even more life to play through classic XCOM 2, War of the Chosen. Once they're in there, those are then options for those weapon and armor tiers that you can then place on your units and use.
There he is.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you were waiting on him. Look at you, Kevin.
That's something I love about how these maps are so much in the spirit of how these missions played out in Enemy Unknown.
Yeah.
That we've brought back some Overwatch creep, which is a great little fun
Love
thing
it.
to return
Yeah.
back to.
Yeah, I remember talking with Hess a lot about, he would kick one out, we would play it, and then we would just organically just talk about, kind of like what my experience was. I think he used me as like, like a very low level kind of player, and I was like, that's all right, that's cool. He's like, how'd you like it, Theo? I'm like, I kind of died a lot. He's like, I'm gonna tweak it for you, and I'm like, thanks, man.
I was just talking with him the other day, though. You definitely have increased by Hess standards. He said you're no longer a novice, and he sees you more as a midline player when he's taking feedback.
I think I have increased a little bit. I think
that's
I'm
good.
I think I'm getting up there.
That's good. You're way ahead of Greg.
Oh,
Sorry, Greg. I had to. All right, let's take another question. Is there any change in TLP to the line of play system? No, there's not any change to how line of sight or line of play works. We're still using. That was awesome.
I love that.
Yes, central slicing is great. We're still using the baseline objectives and objective systems from X2 proper. There are some nice surprises though in some of the other Central's archives with respect to how gameplay is presented or some gameplay surprises. I think we talked about it was in one of the other videos that a return to Newfoundland is a thing, and there's some cool gameplay stuff there that we're excited for you guys to see. All right, more question roulette. I will answer whatever I put my finger on. Will there be pigeons?
Always.
There will
Always
be
pigeons, right?
Always
Are
pigeons.
they? They're in. All right, good.
You better believe they're
That
in
is
there.
very nostalgic. Are there giant pigeons?
I had one character artist take 2 weeks. No, they're in there. They're in there. Absolutely.
Oh yes, Valen. Lots of questions about Valen. I mean, you guys already know this, but you're like Valen has her time to shine in Alien Hunters. Well, not shine, but she has a narrative thread there. So that's where you can check out more about Valen.
What are you gonna do, Kevin?
I'm gonna kill this snaky woman.
Sneaky. You got it, man.
Is the bank with Garth's picture back? You didn't remake the bank, did you?
Hold on.
I know where you're going with
The
this.
picture is in there. I think it's in.
You didn't tell me this. All of a sudden, I
didn't tell you
I got
that.
an email from legal, like, will you sign this disclaimer that your picture is in TLP?
Yeah, that is in. I think it's in the police station. I don't know if it's in the wanted section.
Wanted?
I don't know. Can neither confirm nor
Oh
deny.
man!
It's in there.
All right. How many new maps are there? So there are 7, I guess, EW style maps. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, actually, there's more than that. There's more. So
yeah, go ahead.
in the Legacy Ops missions total, there's 28 new handcrafted
Correct.
maps, right?
Correct.
I'm glad you
But
guys
just to
aren't
be
watching.
clear, what happened?
I'm glad you're not
He's
watching.
getting friendly fire. He's like,
Oh
I'm glad
no!
you're
Is Kevin
watching.
getting killed? Look, you're getting a pass here because I'm getting tripped up on a question.
I'm sacrificing, making a small sacrifice, a calculated sacrifice. Everything's
all right.
under control. We're all good.
So there's actually 28 new handcrafted maps, but to be super clear, they're not all 100% new content. The ones that you're going to play from Blast from the Past, and then also It Came from the Deep, they feel extremely unique. Because then you're talking about the Newfoundland style maps, and you're talking about all of these reimaginings of the Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within style. But then Lazarus Project and the other Central's archives, they're still handcrafted maps, but they're using more of a mix of XCOM 2 assets.
Right. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Like all of these from Blast from the Past are very. They're not a one-to-one, but there is a very heavy nods towards their EU counterparts.
Yep.
And then It Came from the Sea is very much Newfoundland kind of vibe. Very creepy. You'll probably see it here in a minute.
And did we already talk about? Can you talk about how these integrate into the main campaign?
Yeah, like just like we talked about earlier, how this, the X2 parcel PCP system, generates on the fly. Whereas
Right.
these will fit into those
Yeah.
slots. So as you're playing, you may see the gas station. You may be trekking
In the single player campaign.
Correct. Yeah.
That is incredible.
It'll pop in, and
Yeah.
it's going to be really, really cool to see that.
Yep. Are there any new or reimagined enemies? No, there are not. That is one area that we didn't touch. we thought, you know, it was fitting to keep the gameplay, the look of the enemies based on, you know, leading into XCOM 2. And we still wanted the synergy between single player abilities and AI to behave the same. So we didn't touch those too much.
There are some little new things.
Yes.
Like in Cave from the Sea, there
Yes.
are these, the neonate chrysalids?
yes,
Is that what
neonate
it's called?
chrysalids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are in there. They'll pop up. It's really cool. I don't know if it's an cinematic. I don't really know what to call it. Like a reveal.
The faceless reveal. There's some surprises,
yeah,
right?
yeah. There's surprises here
Yeah.
and there. Just really little moments that are really cool or interesting to see.
There's some new ways which I'm hoping we can show after this mission that you can interact with enemies in Photobooth mode, which
Yes.
blew my mind.
Yes, that's another. I mean, I know I've said this like 100 times, but that's another discipline. Animation. David Sanita went to him, and we had, you know, we as with every game development thing, you have time. You know, you have to get a certain amount of things done or whatever. And I go to him, and I'm like, you know, let's do something really fun and interesting, and we just brainstormed some stuff, and he came up with some really cool ideas of some photo booth stuff. I guess we'll talk about it, or we'll see it in a minute. I guess once Kevin destroys the Viper here. You know, like right now, he's having a hard time. No offense, because I've done it too. With
Kevin's struggling a little
with,
bit. Would you like me to take over, Kevin?
yes.
Yes, I
Theo's getting confident.
What's really bad is he's like, "Do you want to play, Theo?" I was like, "No, you don't want me to play," and then I'm giving him a hard time. So I apologize.
I will say, this is the worst that I've ever played through this mission.
We've all been there.
I think you accidentally clicked Nightmare.
Everybody
No one
has.
noticed.
Nobody
But,
noticed.
Yeah.
There you go.
is
But
a-
like, you know, this is a hard fought battle, right? And to me, Photo Booth was always cool in X2, but I always wanted something just a little bit more to kind of memorialize this fight, right? Like, she gave us a hard time, and now we have the ability to be able to go in to Photo Booth and do
Yeah.
put some of these aliens into these scenes, and
Gas station.
I know, right?
Got some new poses already.
Amazing.
Yeah, the poses right here are a lot of the new ones. So Garth touched on it earlier. So there's some new attitudes that you'll see, and again, we had like a whole narrative built on those too. Like, you know, the players, the players have really been through
Hold
the
on.
ringer.
Kevin?
One sec.
Kevin,
One sec. One sec. One sec. There we go.
Kevin, control yourself. We're live, Kevin.
My-
Listen, you can do this stuff offline.
My mouse wheel is
I've totally
going
lost my
crazy.
train of thought right now. It's completely.
I wonder
it's
why.
shattered.
Why are we here?
We are questioning everything.
It's this mouse.
Oh
It's
man, the
this
chat's
damn
making it
mouse.
much better.
Anyway, so moving
As you were
on.
saying.
So a lot of the attitudes that we have, we've kind of built a narrative around. Of, you know, XCOM has lost the war. They're trying to get whoever they can. So either the soldiers they're getting are completely clueless as to the hell that awaits them, or they're really, you know, cocky and they're, you know, stupid sectoid, I can kill that thing. And so their attitudes really show that kind of attitude off, I guess.
Yeah.
Those will be in Photo Booth. You'll notice the muzzle flash that just went away. Oh, there's the aliens. Here we go.
Let me clear out some of these soldiers and make
Yeah, you can go to a different lineup too. Like you can go to a duo. Duo might work a little bit better.
There you go.
If you back up one. Oh, you got a duo there. I guess you can do that too.
What's that?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Keep going. You got it. So if you get the alien on screen, so this is, we have some duo poses where, you know, you can, you know, the two soldiers on the screen will react with one another, not
There it
react,
is.
but they'll work together. This is really cool because, you know, again, we just had quite the fight with the Viper here, and it'd be
Oh, the
cool.
pile of
yeah,
enemies.
the pile of
That's one of
enemies
my-
is really cool. It's like a victory pose. This is really cool. When you combine the one with the Mouton or the Viper bind, if you have Central doing his, I think, jump attack, so if you put
slash.
Central in there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can really start recreating some marketing style
Yeah,
images.
like, I think it's, where is it at? Keep going down, I think.
There's just so many, Theo.
Go up. Face off, pistol overwatch. Death from above, sorry, there it is. This is a cool one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you can get him like jumping in to save the day or whatever. Like you can you can just rearrange him really cool. But we wanted to be able to show the struggle that happened in the previous mission, right? And putting these aliens in was I think a big win, because Photobooth to me was always something that I wanted to go just a little bit further with it, and I think this offers that. This is a high five, so you can have, if you do a duo pose, Kevin, this will work really, really well.
One of my favorites, which you don't have in here. Swap. We'll get that set up first. Because of the skirmisher, I think, is choking out the sectoid.
Yeah, he has
lifting him up.
He has the rip jack.
With the rip jack. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Oh, look at that, Kevin. Well done.
Yeah, this is hilarious. So she's getting bound, and these guys are like, yeah,
Kevin, that is
we're
amazing.
Awesome. You know?
Can you take that? We might need to use that later for our social media.
We got let's try some of the new backgrounds too.
Yeah, so so we added some backgrounds in. So once you get to, I think the last one, maybe go above that to the hunter. The hunter is the last one. That was from War of the Chosen. Everything from Wandering Horde down is TLP.
Change some of these
colors. Those colors are phenomenal. It's like
was that your choice?
It's like the 80s. That was no. It's
I know. Didn't think that would be an artist's first choice.
I'd like to art direct the next thing with my great color choices. Yeah, so we added some really cool, just some interesting things in there.
A lot of these are Min's drawings, right?
Yeah, so Min, yet another amazing concept artist we have, has gone through, like that's a lot of his stuff.
Look at that stuff.
His
That is
stuff,
amazing.
Everything he draws,
Archon.
I want to frame it and post it. Like it's just, it's all the concept guys are phenomenal, but Min too, it's just, he was really instrumental in the weapon concept process. He was, again, phenomenal. So we get a lot of different backgrounds. One of the cool things we have too is muzzle flashes. That's something that I wanted to really see in the previous version of Photobooth. And so we have a couple weapons that will allow you to have really cool muzzle flashes. And it'll be locked to a specific tier, like a laser. I think you can go to. Is she a sniper?
Yes.
So go down. Is it dual wield? Go, keep going. There's one. Her jumping and shooting or whatever. So you can kind of scroll to the side and see her shooting. So you can set up some really cool stuff. We have one of the Grenadier is also
special.
Yeah, right. The Grenadier is also doing a jump with his with the rocket launcher, which is really cool.
Oh, the
That is so awesome.
That's let's show that real quick.
We also have one of the duo poses we have is there's a couple. Yeah, these are hilarious too.
This is
let me give a high five.
Yeah,
Flash. Boom. No. Yeah, I mean, look at all the great stuff you can set up with just these little new additions you guys added.
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with it, or you can take like a serious screenshot or whatever. I mean, you can do a lot of different things with it. So we just wanted to kind of open up, because a lot of the time on the Reddit, I'll see people that either do like really serious ones or they do really hilarious ones.
Right.
And we wanted to open it up to both,
Yep.
And David Sanita did all these poses, knocked them out. A shout out to Steve Jameson and Mike Bazell for these weapon effects in Photobooth.
They look good.
Yeah.
Cool.
They look real good. And shout out to this sick guitar track holding down the background for the past few minutes. This is the new music. This is the UFO defense track,
absolutely, yep.
which is incredible. You guys have to check it out. Kevin, is that going to be? I think that's going to be available on. Is it iTunes?
Yeah, I believe it'll be available on iTunes, Spotify, at least those two places.
Awesome.
A funny story about music.
Yes.
Christy Ambrosio came to me, and he was at the very beginning of the project, and he was like, me and Schneider kind of put something together. We just do it together. It was just, he's totally downplaying. I was expecting it to be, okay.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and I was like, ship it.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. He's like, oh no, I got so much more to do. I'm like, you're crazy, dude.
I know.
This is, you and Adam are destroying. This is great.
It is. It was right up their wheelhouse. It was so good. I remember
Yeah.
the first time I played with it, I was taken to another planet. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Those two guys are funny too. Like they go way back. They've kind of been working together. We'll separate, and then they reconvene back here at Firaxis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone is familiar, we did a really weird video a year ago where we took the famous Valen line from Enemy Unknown and just played it on a loop. But as part of this silly video, there was this really funny like dance remix of their song.
Oh yes.
And Adam was responsible for that remix.
That was such a strange video. I loved it.
I know. It was.
I loved it.
I think I was the only person that wanted to do it, and we did it.
Yeah, you did.
It was,
Pulled it off, Kevin.
and 30 people watched.
So what is this, Kevin?
So we are looking at the mission upgrade screen. You'll hit one of these after every single, well, I guess the first 6 of your missions. You get to pick, make a little binary choice here, but lots of stuff is changing. I can go with the combat sims or utility items. You'll notice on this item when it refreshes, something's getting replaced in my inventory for something else. That's so watch out for that. I'm going to pick the combat sims, and now we can see how our soldiers are changing between each mission. So we got rank ups, new abilities, new items. Those are the things I just picked, and a new soldier, Veronica. Made a little progress.
Just a little bit,
It's all
Kevin.
right. Hey.
Just a little bit.
better
Do
than
better
nothing.
next time.
A lot of it.
It's a lot of.
I made so much progress. You guys don't even know.
Yeah, and again, that's sort of. Oh, I don't know if you want to. So where are we going now?
So this is cemetery.
Yeah.
And you can see some of the drawings that he's made in the upper right and the upper left. You'll notice an article of clothing. Just really, again, is him sitting down with the narrative, I guess in step with the narrative. You can see kind of what Central was thinking, what's going on. Just imagine him circling stuff on maps and saying, this is what we had to do, and this is the stuff we encountered, and just kind of like telling war stories.
Yes, the Luna Army. If you lose a soldier in a mission, the replacement soldier will be upgraded. To answer your question. And again, we wanted to do that just to not make it too punitive. What you're playing for from a skill standpoint is the medals and your scoring, and we also wanted you to be able to enjoy the stories and see the content.
Yeah.
But you can play Nightmare if you want. That gets a lot harder.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Zombies.
Jeez.
Another, yeah, right?
Amazing.
Speaking of new enemies.
What do you mean no new enemies? Who said that?
forgot about that.
I didn't say
Come
that.
on, you're
I
selling
didn't say
yourself
that.
short.
I didn't say that. So this was, Ryan Jackson did these for us, and this was something that we wanted to get in. We just needed some extra love on this, and Ryan Jackson was the guy, and he did a phenomenal job of getting these. We wanted them to look like they were mind controlled a little bit. I mean, I guess they're not mind controlled, but I mean they have like that glow, the same glow that's in the sectoid's head.
Yep.
That pinkish kind of red is in these enemies as well. So we wanted them to look, mind controlled, just to give them that kind of horrifying, mind controlled look.
And there's some more, narrative mixed with gameplay elements here that, again, Brian and Scott and Rocco all worked on. Brian wanted to say, let's overrun the cemetery with damn zombies.
Yeah.
And it feels so cool, too. They're not necessarily being mind controlled gameplay-wise by a sectoid. Or a chrysalid, turning them. These are zombies that are here because you're in a cemetery. So it's a pretty cool feel.
Yeah, it was a little artistic narrative that we wanted to do that didn't necessarily have a gameplay tie, but it was something that we thought would be readable,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was really an interesting. Look at that. You're ready for them.
Did I get?
See?
I got him. All right.
You're doing great.
I was concerned about the sectoid.
Were you?
A little bit.
You got it.
The zombie, no problem.
Here comes this guy. That
Obliterates
run cycle
everybody.
creeps me out every time. I'm like, oh my lord, get away from me.
We played the original EU version of this map 2 weeks ago on our stream.
Is that the one that Jake and I played with you?
Yes.
So that
Is that
is
slightly
actually different. Actually, I'm sorry. Scroll to the middle. Is this Grand Cemetery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Grand
Yeah.
Cemetery.
Yeah.
So the one we played
Where
2
we
weeks
play-
ago was Small Cemetery.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right.
There's a lot of
Right.
There's some similarities for sure.
I was gonna
But,
say, we didn't do the path.
yeah, the basis for this was more of a state or a larger scale cemetery, whereas the one that we played last week was a small cemetery in the middle of a city. So, but yeah, there were actually two different ones in Enemy Unknown. Those that have played it will remember. This one has the big mausoleum in the middle, where you sort of have the firefights on the interior space. Always blow up a few walls there. So there's a lot of great stuff, a lot of good memories from this map. Folks commenting on the sounds of the gun. Loving him.
Yeah, another, and that was something I wish we could see, the level 2 and level 3 weapons, because the effects on those.
Oh, the effects look so good.
Mike Bazell,
and
like
the sounds are great.
First off, Mike Bazell can draw like nobody's business. And he had a very difficult task because, again, I went to him with a very kind of vague, kind of like, this is kind of what I want to do. And he filled in the blanks because TLP weapons aren't quite to X2, right? And TLP level 2 is laser.
Right.
And X2, the level 2 is magnetic, right? So that's like, the one's a laser, one's an actual projectile. How do you make it look like kind of like an in-between?
Yeah.
And so I told him, I was like, I want a laser, but more powerful. And he just kind of was like, okay.
And he made it happen.
But he made it happen. He and Jameson
part of the
got
magic
together
of
and
you
just
guys.
made it look phenomenal. Same thing with the plasma. It's just, we wanted an up-res, not up-res, a more powerful weapon, a more powerful beam, because, you know, these weapons, they've been upgraded, right?
Yep.
They've been juiced up, and the particles that they have, that they did for these are just, I was like so pleased, you know.
Yeah.
It was everything they did. I was like, oh, that's great, that's perfect, that's perfect. Those guys have been working on XCOM and just knocking this out for so long. It was amazing to watch them work.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the benefit, again, of having, I started out by saying sort of the genesis for this packet, but this team, we have such a strong experience level there. It's sort of like having, you know, an experienced championship team in sports, or you have multiple all-stars on a roster. They just get it done because they know it. They know this inside and out, like the back of their hand. They know what our community likes, and then they know how to sort of take that intangible element and make it magic. And those guys are just fantastic at it. There was another question about were there gameplay changes to these maps? Yeah, these are not one-for-one cover layout. Brian Hess and the team looked at that from a cover standpoint and what could become better even from Enemy Unknown. And so they made some changes there, also some environmental changes and world building changes with the environment artists as well. So these aren't one for one, but that means they actually play a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you'll definitely feel like you're at that place for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to have Brian and Clint on next week. So Brian will be able to. You can ask him all your questions about the maps. He'll talk about sort of the changes he did to better the gameplay, the tactical gameplay.
Yep. So is Central talking to the soldiers, or does he think he's talking to the commander still? That's a great question. And like I said, for Blast from the Past, I think the writers took a really cool slant on it. He's talking to you. You are the commander, but he's sort of telling you about what he went through in the past to get to this point. So again, it's sort of like telling a buddy an old war story about something that happened in the past.
That grab was so powerful, the tree disintegrated. You see that?
It's that pull. It's that gravity.
It's the power of the
gravitational pull of that
IPA.
viper.
Oh, here comes the zombie. You're in trouble, Kev.
Get away.
Get away. I know, right? That creepy walk.
We're all good. We're all good.
For you modders out there, there will be an update to the mod SDK as well. So this content will be available for you to do what you please to your heart's content. So we're very excited about that as well. And that should be at launch or very near to launch.
I feel like the question about the weapon sounds, I don't know if we answered that,
Yeah,
but that was
yeah.
something that D'Ambrosio, I remember going to him and saying, you know, I remember the weapons in EU, they had a very bassy, like almost a violent sound to them, like
Yeah.
the level ones, and I think he matched it
Oh my
pretty
gosh.
spot on.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's this whole, like I said, it just brings you back, but it's all with a twist.
Yep,
Everything
yeah.
is twisted. So it feels new, it feels fresh.
Yeah.
But this is like the ultimate nostalgic trip. It's so cool to go through.
Kevin's ripping it now. Look,
Yeah, you are.
you've gotten in a,
Kevin got mad that you
yeah.
were talking some smack.
Uh-oh.
I'm always mad.
You're always mad.
Let's see. Do we have any new questions? I can't answer that one. I can't answer that one. Just kidding. Man, lots of Terror from the Deep questions. You know, it came from the deep. You'll have to play. It's not an homage from Terror from the Deep,
Right.
but there's some cool. There's some cool
Yeah.
stuff there. Again, harkening back to Enemy Within.
Yeah, that whole set of whole set of maps is really different than what we see in X2. Like in X2, you have the coastal parts of the maps, whereas those set is really a unique and different. It's a very different feel. It's very creepy. You have the chrysalids in there first off, which is creepy from the get-go, and then you have just the look and the feel of those maps is really it just has a whole feel in and of itself that's so separate from X2 for me. I was really pleased how those came out.
Yeah. Somebody asked, where's Raymond Shen? So Lily Shen has her own archive in Central's archive. So just like we're doing with Central right now, you guys will be able to go through her own little narrative arc about what she was doing before the events of XCOM 2. So we'll leave it at that and let you guys explore it, or maybe they'll play some of that next week. But there's some cool stuff there.
Ooh.
Yeah, for anyone who's interested, over the next few weeks, we'll play through chunks of the 4 ladders, or the 4 operations, excuse me. So you'll get a little taste of those if you keep coming back. Next week we'll be diving into It Came from the Sea.
Yes.
Shen hype, yes.
Shin hype. I loved on the armor how it, see that shoulder, that little bracket.
Right.
Like I just imagine they're like, crap, this thing's falling apart.
Yeah.
What do we do? And they just reached over and got like a drill and just drilled on to that shoulder pad to keep it together. Like it's so just thrown together looking, right? Like it looks like it's about to fall apart.
Absolutely.
The question is, will we get to choose our squad in TLP story missions and remake our old EW squads as survivors? Not in Central's archives, but you will be able to do that in Resistance archives. That's exactly what that mode is for. So again, the headcanon that you guys came up with EU, and when you want to create your own squads, you'll be able to use squads there, and they change each time.
That music. Wow. That's very cool. Uh-oh, Bladestorm.
There we go.
Got him.
I needed that.
Yeah, that was about to be a really bad situation right there.
No, that's what I intended to do.
That's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Nice. Good job.
One of the, I think we mentioned with Central's archives just by itself, there's probably about 10 hours of content. Which is significant. I mean, we're on our 2nd mission right now. There are so many missions with some narrative for you guys to go through. I'm just so excited and proud how the team put that together to make it something meaningful for you guys to enjoy with a long tail.
Oh, okay.
I'll take it.
Well,
I'll take it.
Take it.
Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think each ladder will take you a good couple hours.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
Oh,
maybe.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just for Central's archives.
Right.
So we're not talking about whatever you guys want to do with Skirmish Mode, all the hundreds of offline challenges, Resistance archives, which you can just play forever, and then of course you will get all this content pushed to your single player campaign, which I want to do, by the way. I still haven't completed that part because I've been playing the archives so much. I can't wait to go back there and put on the UFO defense soundtrack. Have the upgraded carapace and powered armors and weapons.
Let's show off just going to the
Yeah,
options.
can we see? Yeah, so not only do we have the UFO defense soundtrack, you can also play Michael McCann's Enemy Unknown soundtrack as well too.
That's a good one.
Yep.
I love it. Like it'll just change on the fly, no matter where you are, and kind of be the appropriate song for the situation. It's very cool how it all just flows together. These 3 different soundtracks that you can just pop, go in between.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Can you play through the archives on Legend mode? You can play through Central's archives on what we're calling Nightmare, which is essentially Commander tuned up a little bit, although Brian Hess, who's going to be on next week, will be able to tell you a little bit more about that. The Resistance archives, you will be able to play on the 4 core difficulty modes from the base game.
Well, shucks.
Now you're in a spot now.
Where's my central?
There he is.
There's my central.
Slash him. Slash him.
Got
Kevin.
him.
He's weak to it. Oh. Nice.
Theo, there was a question before. What is, when we play through XCOM 2, and particularly this pack, did we have a favorite moment? Did you have a favorite moment, either going through
Ooh, that's a good question.
one of the Central's archives or
I think
something else?
It came from the sea. The moment, I don't want to spoil that. The second moment, when the chrysalids reveal themselves, when they pop out of the water. I remember early in development we were doing that. We were trying to figure out how it's all going to work, and Brian Hess was
Bye.
was
I'm leaving.
Did you just die? What happened?
I missed.
You missed?
A 90+% shot.
What? That never
Come on, Kevin.
That's XCOM, baby.
Wow, you know what's amazing?
you.
I can see Kevin is, like, visually, I can see he's disturbed right now for missing that
is,
shot.
he is.
Even though you're part of the team and you've done this a million times,
know.
that feeling never
Still gets
never
me.
fails. Sorry,
It's
sorry,
okay.
Theo.
So when we were trying to determine like how many chrysalids to have on the map, like what is a good number and all this kind of stuff, and there was one point where it was too many, and
Right.
it was a terrifying moment. But then it was interesting because as I was playing, I kept waiting for. I didn't know it had gotten tweaked. I kept waiting for them to show up like in mass.
Right.
And even though a couple of them came out, I was still terrified. It was just very much a sense of I was just anxious the whole time.
Yeah.
It just felt good to get that from those maps. It told me that it was dialed in perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, the rising tension on some of these maps are really, really balanced well, and I think you guys will see that with Clint and Hess,
Yeah.
and some of those other.
And I will say the nostalgia
archives.
aspect to the Blast from the Past maps, just playing it so much it's just cool to see it. You know, it's cool to feel it and see it, and it's not a one-to-one, but you very much know what map it is.
Oh yeah, and you guys did a great job of striking that chord. I remember I played Train Yard. So my favorite moment was probably firing up Gas Station with the UFO Defense soundtrack and just like taking that in and being like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
you guys have taken us back, and you nailed it. But Train Yard, there were some early iterations where it was like a different lighting environment.
Yep.
The ground was like, I think it was more grassy instead of
Yeah.
gravelly and sandy.
Right.
And you guys, we were talking about that a little bit, and you guys sort of honed in on, well, it looked amazing, it felt amazing, it actually felt very different, but it didn't tap into that nostalgia factor
Yeah,
of the enemy
yeah.
unknown maps. And you guys did a really good job of honing in on that.
Yeah, it was too much of a departure early on, and we just kept tweaking, and I think we finally got there.
I think we're running out of time a little bit, but I wanted to play just a couple turns of this mission.
The bar!
So
Yeah,
we're
the
on,
bar.
I think, not with armor, but with weapons. We have our laser weapons.
Yes, we do.
We're on the bar. A lot of cool stuff. So let me see if I can
Yeah,
find
the
some.
weapon
Why don't you just show an overview with some of that stuff? Maybe we'll take a few more questions before we depart. And as Kevin is getting this set up,
This next turn, you'll be able to engage the baddies.
I will
Oh yes.
find the bad.
That's another thing. I think Hess really. I know Hess really pushed the enemies a little bit closer in, so you got into the action very quickly.
Yes.
And I loved that because it just kind of supported what we wanted TLP to be, right? It was very quick action. You get into it, you get rolling. Oh, here it comes. Do it.
So wait, this is a better angle
Sure,
of the
do it.
gun.
Yeah.
Got a little laser pistol going
Yeah,
on.
see that little pulsating
Man,
laser
that is
pistol?
great.
Got a
Yeah.
pigeon?
They got a pigeon.
oh,
There's a
there
pigeon.
it is.
There it is.
Good, Kevin, well done.
Nice.
This is like the Steve Jameson, Mike Bazell
Yes.
highlight reel right here. This is their portfolio.
That's all
that
they
have
did,
up
right
on their
there is the
website.
pigeon.
The pigeon and magnetic laser
Oh,
effects.
this is a great marketing screenshot. I got this person over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I
All right,
doing?
Kevin,
my
will you
job?
stop admiring yourself
Yeah.
and take the shot?
Oh, his moment ruined. Gone
Yes.
forever.
Nice.
Sand on the beach.
The heavy will do a cool animation too. I think is to the this guy.
I'm gonna miss, but I just want to take the
It
shot.
doesn't matter. It'll
Let's
be
just
really
see.
cool. Pow, pow, pow. This is cool. It just has kind of like that warbly, in between.
Feels very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it's still the same language.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Same with the sword too. We
Look at
got
that.
a laser
Look at
sword.
that animation on it.
Yeah,
That's
that laser sword is really
completely
cool. Yeah, that's brand new. On the hilt, there's like a battery that David Pakanowski taped on there. It was really cool.
I'm gonna just shoot at this guy's.
Pigeon
little
take
shotgun.
cover.
Pigeon take cover.
Yes. Somebody, yes, some people
Well,
are.
somebody save the pigeons.
I do not have an answer on Exalt. Exalt does not exist in this particular timeline. Is that correct?
Yeah, like, well, it's kind of like with the Advent. I mean,
Yeah.
technically they don't exist,
right.
but they do exist. I mean, I
Right,
know
right.
that's like the most hand-wavy thing ever, but it's like in the loading screen that we saw in here, I think Central had roughed out like a Advent logo that you could tell he was kind of trying to remember.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things like I saw this group of guys, it looked terrifying.
Yeah.
It was like this logo, we're not quite sure. So they existed in the world, but they just didn't know about them
Totally.
in that particular time frame.
Yeah, the
So-
Advent for sure. I mean, that makes a ton of sense. This is Central learning about them.
Yeah.
The Exalt was because that was more the expansion timeline for EU.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Before Exalt emerged.
That was the only explanation I could come up with, because it didn't take long for a whole lot of aliens to close on our
Position. Yeah. Careful.
Any other
There,
good questions?
any references to Zhang or
Same.
Annette? Now they are from the Enemy Unknown DLC, Slingshot and Progeny. Man, that's why we love you guys. You guys are digging deep. No, there are some again familiar faces in some of the later Legacy ops, but no references to Annette, correct?
Yeah, no. Look at this. Look at this well-placed shot.
I like that. Somebody said, "Okay, you're not answering XCOM 3. When is XCOM 4 releasing?"
That's a very good
pretty
question.
creative,
Yeah.
actually.
You're gonna answer it, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can answer that one, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you guys
Do you
keep
know?
guys keep sticking with us. We'll get it to you.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you want to call it there?
Yeah, I mean, this was great. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
I mean, I think we covered everything. I think it's all there.
Yeah. There's, I guess this is mission 3, so there's 4 more little blast from the past missions to dive into when you get your hands on TLP when it launches next week. We'll be back next week with more TLP gameplay. We're going to be playing It Came from the Sea with Quentin McCall, who's the lead producer on the DLC, and Brian Hess, we're calling him. He's not level.
Yeah,
designer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was the designer for this. He put together basically the Central's Archives and Legacy Ops.
Yep.
And how they worked.
Cool. You have any final parting words?
I just wanted to say thank you again. This is really an awesome culmination of work that was done on the franchise. So thank you for allowing us as a team to give you this sort of content. And we can't wait to talk more with you. You got anything else?
Thank you. Thank you for everything. Yeah, it's been an amazing ride, but thank you. Yeah, I appreciate everybody out there supporting us through all of this. It's been great.
Cool. Stay tuned to our channels. Please come back next week for another live stream. TLP is coming very soon. We can't wait for you all to get your hands on it. Thanks so much for joining the stream. Have a good one, everyone.